We're live.
We're live.
Love that I start doing this and you just do it too. Guys, I'm so excited to be here with Amelia Rose Blair, who is majorly known for Detroit Become Human and Cyberpunk and Descartes Games, which is the most popular Twitch channel of all time, right?
Oh, you flatter me, darling. I don't know about that.
You know, it's funny. Everything I do with you guys is together, except the one coffee I had with Brian 3 years ago when I moved to LA. Like, I didn't know you and we were going to talk game stuff, but
you also drank tequila on stream without me.
Oh, yes. Yeah. So those 2 times. Right. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
But I remember thinking, you know, I'm going to have them on separately on the Twitch so that we can just talk as individuals. I do want to tell my followers how you got into Detroit Become Human, because you guys, I think, and this isn't the company that made Detroit Human and it's not the game talking. I think you guys made it what it is. I think Brian starting to live stream before it aired and then you jumping on and then you guys continuing it. I think it would not have been this popular if you guys had not done what you did. So props to you on that, because that's like mind-blowing and awesome.
Which was definitely like an amazing tool to be able to bring all the people who love the game and were being moved by the game together in one place so that we could all like fanboy, fangirl about each other, about the game together and talk about, you know, what we loved about it, what moved us about it. And then so I think Twitch really was such an amazing part of that, because it gave us all the opportunity to come together in one space.
Yeah. And I've told Brian this, like, I feel like it's so awesome that you were able to join the Twitch train and also be a part of Detroit Become Human that helped keep you guys doing this together as a couple, rather than, well, I lost my husband to Twitch and that's all he does, you know, because it is really time consuming and it takes so much energy and effort, and you guys do this together. And I'm almost envious in a really beautiful way that you guys have this little team that's like, we're in it to win it, you know?
Yeah, definitely streaming together is hugely beneficial, because, you know, one of us could be playing the game and then the other one's here with the chat. So I sometimes when I've done streams by myself, or like Brian goes to the bathroom or he has to go and do something, I'm like, I'm alone. It's just me.
So tell me, you didn't audition for Detroit like general auditions go down in this world that we live in.
Yes.
How did it all go down?
Well, Brian had booked Connor like a year and a half before. And I was very intrigued by the little bit of the story that I knew, because I was helping him learn all of his lines. So I knew what was going on with Connor's story. And I was like, damn, this story is really, really cool. I would love to get to play some character, maybe somehow. And then for his last, he shot in Paris, so he invited me to go with him for
poor thing
for his last bout. And I went and was just having a great time exploring the city by myself. And then I started to run lines with him for a character called Tracy. And as I was reading the lines, I was like, oh, wow, this story is really powerful between, you know, these two right now. And then a couple days later, Brian called me in the middle of set and he's like, hey, get off book for Tracy because you're going to come in for an audition. I was like, okay. They gave me a general breakdown of the story and of the character. And David was definitely like, just so you know, this is a very particular role. So, you know, no, please don't take it personally, however it goes, because he was trying to, you know, prep me in case it was just like, nah, this is not a fit. But the story just hit me. So I knew, I just felt that underlying emotion of what the story meant very deeply. And yeah. I did the scenes with Brian and I did all of the Tracy scenes. God. So I did the scenes, and afterwards David just looked at me and he's like, will you be our Tracy? I was like, yes, I thought you would never ask. So then I went and got scanned into the system. I didn't know what they were going to look like. I didn't know if she was going to look like me. I hope she would, but I didn't know. And it wasn't until I think the Detroit release party was actually in Detroit that I got to sneak a peek at her, but I couldn't find the Tracy's because I just kept losing her. So I was like, she's out there somewhere and she looks like me.
Before then, Brian said you had motion capture experience, so you'd worked on Quantum?
Yes, I worked on Quantum Break, which is by Remedy. I always confuse Quantic Break, Quantum Break. And I played Amy Ferrero in that game. And that was a very different experience. I did some performance capture, but mostly it was facial capture in Helsinki, Finland, which was a very different experience.
Dude, why I want to go work in video games in Finland and France. How does this happen? Where do I sign up for these? You are now a gamer.
I am officially a gamer now.
I have had trouble trying to imagine it in my life, and I don't think it'll happen, but talk to me.
Well, I thought the same thing too. I did not grow up playing games. It was very foreign to me. The only game that I had played was Guitar Hero, but I didn't play any video games. And Detroit was actually the first game that I played other than Crash Bandicoot, because Brian tried to lure me in with Crash Bandicoot before the game came out. But Detroit was my first gaming experience. And I remember when I would play, I'd have to like say out loud, like circle, square, triangle. Once you get over the self-consciousness of not being good enough, because that was a big piece. I was like, oh my God, I'm streaming on Twitch. All these people are gamers and I don't even know what button I'm supposed to press. Whatever. And you know, you just play the games that you like. And now, I mean, playing Cyberpunk, which is a first person shooter where you're like switching weapons and upgrading things. Played that, and I like took out the final boss myself.
What? They asked a question about the short film that you produced, I believe, right? The Desert Rose?
Desert Prayer, yeah.
Oh, cool.
I'm the rose in the desert. It's okay.
You're the rose. Got it. Will you ever consider making another project like that?
Oh, yes. I would love to. That Desert Prayer is a short film that I produced. I conceptualized. It was my soul baby. I needed to tell that story. And I came up with the idea, and then I hired a writer my friend to write the script. And it was my first time ever producing a project. I've only ever been on the other side of the camera as the actor. So that was my first time taking the lead of a project. And it was incredibly fulfilling, incredibly challenging. I learned a lot on that project, especially because it was shot out in the desert. I love Joshua Tree National Park, and I wanted to be in that area. And bringing 23 people out to the desert was an excursion. But
23?
I had a big cast. I had a whole group of women, of desert witches. So that was big. Really cool was that the majority of the cast and crew were women, which was really exciting.
You did a ton of TV before Detroit came along.
I did, yes.
Tell me about those experiences. In 2016, you did 3 roles on TV, and like that's exciting because like as you're getting going, you're like, okay, I booked 1 role here. I don't know how many lines it was. I don't know if it was a guest, you know, like tell us all about that.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that I got to work on as many different productions as I did. My favorite experience on TV was hands down playing Willa Burrell on True Blood. I was a regular on that show for the final season, which still blows my mind.
Yes.
Yes.
Was that one of your first roles on TV?
No, that was not. I got to do a lot of guest stars, which is just 1 episode on a bunch of different shows. And first, when I booked True Blood, it was a recurring role for season 6. And then they upped me to a regular for the final season. And that production was so high tech. Most TV shows, 1 episode will take about 8 to 10 days to film. True Blood, 1 episode was about 21 days to film. So it was like we were shooting a bunch of mini films, essentially. I had also been a huge fan of the show from the beginning. So the fact that I got to work with my favorite characters from the show was really surreal.
Just like booking a series regular like that, that's a big deal, you know?
Especially because I had started as a recurring, so I didn't know like how much longer I would get to stay on. I think initially they told me afterwards that the character was only supposed to be there for 3 episodes, but then they just kept including me. So I was like, oh my God. And then they upped me for the last season, and I barely did any work. I was in like hardly any of the episodes, but I was a regular. So
that's amazing. Also, that's a testament to, I mean, I don't know if your character was just like they needed her in there, but what happens a lot is somebody comes in for a guest star or a small recur, and then they're like, oh, this person's cool, or oh, they're a really good actor, and they keep writing for you because they meet you, the person, and so they realize this is amazing, you know?
Yeah. I definitely think that's what happened with Willa, because I think she was supposed to die.
What was it that made you go, oh, let's do a D&D campaign?
Well, we knew that we wanted to create a game that we could play live with our community, and we didn't really know how we wanted to do that. And after playing Vampire the Masquerade and learning more about RPGs, we're like, oh, we could start this with an RPG where we don't actually have to like go out into the world and do an actual road trip. Because that's initially what we were thinking of doing, like going out and filming it like we would a movie, like we did Desert Prayer. But with it just quickly started to become obvious that we should slow our roll a little bit, and that we could play a game just sitting at our table, and that we can use our imagination. So that's how the idea for the Golden Spiral came to be. Is we knew we wanted to play a game with everybody. We didn't quite know how, and then we discovered the magic of role-playing games, and we're like, maybe we can take this story and move it into this world of RPG.
Guys, Brian and Amelia took me out on a dinner date. It might have been lunch.
I think it was lunch.
Really delicious Thai place. And they were like, oh, let's order food. So, Carolina, here's a book. And we want to sell you this thing. And I'm like, guys, I'm in. What are we doing? Like, I've been scared shitless of Dungeons and Dragons because I'm terrible at it. But I'm like,
no, you're not. You were so good. You were so committed, and everybody loved Loop. I loved Loop. There was definitely some like cool, like underlying things happening between our characters. It was great. I loved it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Cause you and your little fucking lavender pouches, man.
Yes.
Yeah. And your time off, what do you, Brian do? Do you guys go rollerblading or skateboarding or?
No.
None
No, wheels and my feet, not
bicycle?
We love to garden. That's one of the big things that we've been spending a lot of time doing, is planting succulents and jasmine, just getting our hands dirty. That's probably one of my favorite things to do. I've also been reading a lot, which is new. Reading a lot of mystery books.
Congrats, you learned how to read.
I know. It's been a long time since I was reading, but there's something just really special about the feeling of being completely enraptured by a book where you can't put it down.
Yo, talk to me about Cyberpunk. You and Brian both got roles on that. Was that a together thing, or that was just like, oh my God, this happened to both of us? How cool.
That was a together thing for sure. We met the team of Cyberpunk CD Projekt Red at E3 in 2018. And we stayed in touch with the social media team, and we went to Poland, and we tested a game called Thronebreaker, and then we met with a team there, and they were like, maybe, we don't know, but maybe we'll find something for you to do in this game. And then like 2 years later, they're like, okay, we have the characters. And then they sent us the sides, and the story was just so, gets you in the feels. That was social media that definitely helped that come to life.
Amelia, any any closing remarks that are just brilliant for our lovely chat?
Wear a mask, take care of yourself, take care of yourself. I would also say that, you know, pursuing a creative career, pursuing anything creative takes a lot of courage and a lot of persistence and a lot of grit. And I would say just, you know, keep doing you. Somebody gave me a piece of advice. I remember when I lost a role that I really, really wanted. And they said, sometimes they're going to be looking for burgundy and you're going to be offering them red. So keep cultivating your truest shade of red, and eventually they'll be looking for that color.
Guys, thank you so much for being here. Keep booming and booping. Boop.